Okay, today's video is going to change your perspective of Rebirth a little. If you have a soul, then I don't know. You're going to see it as a pretty sad freaking movie after this. This just opened my eyes like crazy. So leave a like on the video, subscribe to Dangerville, and let's get into it. Okay, the heartbreaking story of the Distortus Rex.
Welcome home, residents. It's your Mayor Alistair back once again, and today we have something that might be potentially heartbreaking to viewers.
Heartbreaking.
Especially those sensitive to topics of animal cruelty, because it's something that the Jurassic franchise has regularly tapped in. Despite being the antagonists of their respected films, the dinosaurs are just as much victims as the ones trapped on the islands. Well, now the most recent entry of the franchise has released, Gareth Edwards' Jurassic World Rebirth, and one of the most hot topics is the new mutated creature.
He just blew my face off, dude. They are the victims. Horrible things are done to these dinosaurs, and then they're just abandoned to die because dinosaurs have no rights. What the hell? Never really thought about it before.
The Distortus Rex. This creature was created in the InGen lab and is partially responsible for the downfall of the island's research and development facility.
Hey, side note, Academy Award better go to that guy. The guy who was stuck in the containment area with the D-Rex. Please open the door for me. That dude acted his face off, bro. That was like, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but my God, he also kind of caused it though, you know what I mean?
It's framed as the villain of Rebirth, but when looked at closely, this creature actually has a tragic backstory. And after explaining it to you, you may have a newfound appreciation for the ending of this film, because it fits directly in with the themes of the Jurassic franchise, and directly answers criticisms of the previous World films. So today, we're going to look into the heartbreaking story of the Distortus Rex.
Hell of an intro right there, dude. Beautiful. Well done.
But one thing more heartbreaking than the Distortus Rex is the amount of you that aren't subscribed, which is nearly 70% of you, so get a move on already. There's so much Jurassic content coming.
No, but for real, I've met the guys at Dangerville. They're awesome. You should subscribe to them. They're cool. And they weightlift a lot, so they're buff. You know what I mean? Pretty
Taking a
cool.
look at the history of the Jurassic series, you can get a good idea on the creation of this specimen. In 1986, InGen started creating dinosaur clones, and of course, used modern reptile DNA like tree frogs to fill in the gaps, which led to these animals which resembled their prehistoric selves, but not quite. They were featherless, with size variations that made them different to their natural ancestors. But they were fascinating nonetheless. However, despite being wrong, InGen went through iteration after iterations of designs before arriving at an animal that they were happy with. Previous mistakes were either too inaccurate or had genetic abnormalities that made their very existence unsustainable. Some couldn't regulate their own body temperatures, others suffered from accelerated cellular decay, neurological issues, or malformed organs.
Damn, it's also beautiful when you're a kid, but yeah, realizing this as an adult, it's like that version of Krieger's Basement of Pig People mutations. I don't know, if you never watched Archer, you won't get it, but it's disturbing as hell.
They weren't built to survive. They were unstable constructs living on borrowed time from the moment they hatched.
Damn.
This didn't stop InGen experimenting though, trying to make bigger, scarier, and cooler animals. This leads us to 2010, the creation of the D-Rex, where we witnessed the InGen lab on Isle Saint-Hubert experimenting with genetics to try and make the next big scary attraction for the park, that being Jurassic World. Yes, this lab was designed to make the next headline dinosaur that would become the Indominus Rex. Bigger, meaner, and more teeth. This lab was responsible for enhancing the animal's genes, trying to give them more terrifying features, and not only that, they mixed in other creature DNA in the process. In an effort to increase the size of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, they mixed in Titanosaurus DNA to disastrous effect. The result was a malformed, hideous mutation, a creature with an enlarged cranium, 6 limbs, and grew to such a size that even the most high-tech of facilities couldn't restrain it. And worst of all, this was the 26th specimen. There were 25 failures before it.
Damn, dude, I never thought about that.
The representative at Parkogenics states, these products can exceed $72 million in expenses. which means they weren't put down at the immediate discovery of genetic malformations. They allowed these creatures to live regardless of how much pain they were in.
My
Many
God.
of these specimens were likely in an insurmountable amount of pain from the genetic experimentation. But despite that, InGen would have prolonged their suffering, all in the name of profit and research and development. Which leads us to the Distortus Rex version number 26, the first self-sustaining iteration of this creature. But despite that, it doesn't mean it doesn't suffer from physical and mental disabilities, some of which are even demonstrated in the film. Walking on its hind legs, with its arms for support, much like a gorilla, sporting an extra pair of limbs left over from its Rex DNA.
Dude, even when that thing was moving, it did look like it wasn't enjoying the process of motion, you know what I mean? And I'm also picturing it has either an insurmountable amount of extra chromosomes or missing, either way, you know, where you start to get that like super strength where your brain has no limitations. You'll just like pet a puppy and accidentally squish it. It happens, bro.
It has an enlarged skull and hunches over with a clear spinal deformity. This creature screams abomination, something that shouldn't have been created. An animal that nature never intended to exist, that violates everything we know about the natural order.
Like the
this animal
Antichrist.
is in pain every time it moves, as when it walks, it even tests out its right leg to see whether the pressure will cause it severe discomfort.
God.
It doesn't hunt for sport or aggression, it moves because it has to.
That poor thing probably has the worst case of hip dysplasia since like the first like 30-year-old German Shepherd. Oh my God, I could imagine the genetic like, oh my God.
Every step is a
So many
calculated
issues.
risk between staying alive and spiraling into agony. This is the first D-Rex specimen that can live, but it doesn't mean that its existence is without suffering.
Not living
its
well.
body may function, but it's barely holding itself together. A patchwork of incompatible genetics forced into cooperation.
Damn.
Every movement is a negotiation between its conflicting biology, and while it may survive longer than its predecessors, it's living proof that survival doesn't equal stability.
Every movement is a negotiation is the hardest line I've ever heard to describe this abomination.
Wasn't designed to thrive,
Damn.
only to endure, which is why this thing is most likely a scavenger. Which brings us to the climax of the film, where it appears fully grown, learned to live with its pain in a world that doesn't want it. It appears through the fog as a freak of nature, a shock to the team who came to the island with little information on what exactly resided there. It stalks them, more curious than outright vengeful. The last time it saw humans on the island, they kept it captive in a small research facility, caged for its early life. But since then, they disappeared, and for the first time in 17 years, it's seeing them again, and it's immediately curious. One thing you'll notice is that the D-Rex doesn't actually attack unless provoked. When the gates opened, revealing Zora Bennett and her team, it seemed curious more than anything, less bothered by their existence, and more interested in understanding what they were. It didn't charge or roar or try and grab them. It observed, almost cautiously, as if trying to process whether these humans were a threat or prey.
Bro, it's gonna make me cry right now. This big innocent goofball of an abomination walking around just like, human trust? It's, oh my God, we're terrible, bro.
The helicopter
I
flying
wasn't
towards
there.
it was blaring bright lights, so it snatched it out of the sky and started toying with it, as if fascinated and interested with the object more than actually trying to kill anyone.
Well, now I feel
And
bad.
It only attacked when Martin Krebs rammed the thing with his vehicle, blaring it with the car's floodlights, which led to it snatching him out the car and biting him in half. Following this, we witness it approach
Poor
the
little
docks
guy.
where the team were trying to escape, slowly approaching their position. But
Damn.
once again, we see it more curious than anything. It doesn't try to attack, it simply observes. It's not until Zora realizes that it's attracted to the light that they react, and Duncan Kincaid lures it away with a flare, and it follows willingly. It doesn't seem to be interested in the defenseless food, but more by the bright light. It stalks Duncan until the flare runs out, and then seemingly loses interest, as if eating Duncan wasn't its goal. It's clear that from this finale, that the Distortus Rex isn't some evil maniacal creature looking to cause harm to others. but is a victim of genetic experimentation gone wrong.
First off, this music's manipulating me, and I'm aware of it. Anything's sad with this music, but no, I was just trying to make friends the whole time, bro. That's actually pretty devastating.
Forced to suffer. And in the end, it watches their boat
What
leave,
a loser.
the light fading into the distance, before it returns to the island to continue its life alongside its dinosaur cousins. This
Aw.
ending to me feels like a direct answer to Dominion's ending. If you remember for that, we also made a heartbreaking story of Giganotosaurus video.
Really?
And how this animal behaved completely naturally. It was territorial, wasn't bloodthirsty or evil, it was just being like a dinosaur. It doesn't even kill a single character in the film. Yet, in the end, it's ceremoniously killed as if it's some big victory to be proud of, when in reality, it was just an animal longing to survive, just like the rest of them.
Well, now I hate Dominion even more, damn it.
The D-Rex, like Giganotosaurus, is also just an animal wanting to find peace. It didn't ask to be born with its genetic abnormalities, making its life difficult on a daily basis. It's just as much a victim as the humans stranded on the island. But the film shows that even though it's tragic, it's still dangerous, because it is a wild animal at the end of the day. Yet, in the end, they made a point to tell us that just because it's dangerous doesn't mean that it deserves to die. Humans put themselves in a place where they don't belong, and they became the intruders. And I actually appreciate that this film showed us that, as a victim, it shouldn't just be killed off as if that's a good thing, which makes this whole ending somewhat bittersweet.
Damn, bro, right in the feelings, man.
What started as an attempt to make the best headline attraction at the park turned into a horror story that yet still has underlying themes of tragedy and heartbreak. The shame of InGen for creating these abominations with their genetic abnormalities, and despite them being in pain, they prolong their suffering, all in the name of saving money. But the Distortus Rex is now free to roam the island, and the whereabouts of this creature remain a mystery. But the legacy of InGen's horrific testing lives on. Who knows how many other abominations they made, remnants of their need to play God and completely disregard nature.
I want to see the other 25 D-Rex.
This won't be the last time we see Distortus Rex. But what do you think? Let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe and chomp the notification button to become a resident of Dangerville today. And give this video a big dino-sized like to support the channel. I've been Alistair, thanks for watching today's video, and we'll see you residents in the next one.
I don't want to sound like any kind of a meat rider, but I consistently love Dangerville's opinions. But I always just agree with everything they say so much. They just have like overwhelmingly good points with stuff. This one does seem kind of more obvious than anything else. Like it's actually once you like have someone explain it to you, but I just didn't like consider it, to be honest. But yeah, that's great. There was 25 others. I'm imagining like tentacle sludge monsters that die like shortly after birth, and then they eventually get to where they're kind of living for a while but still dying after a few years. This one seems to still be going strong, but it does like blatantly look like a creature in agony and pain. Crazy, dude. Either way though, leave a like on the video, subscribe for more dinosaur conversation nonsense, and also subscribe to Dangerville, obviously, because this channel is freaking awesome, and I'll see you next time.